How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. So Aaron Judge spoke to NJ.com yesterday in an interesting kind of interview format and gave us some really interesting takes about what's going to happen this offseason and why the batting order was god-awful this year. Now, if Judge is saying it, we should take it with truth. You know what I mean? He doesn't really speak that often, and when he does, it's pretty spot on unless it's regarding one of his own injuries. And in that case, obviously, he's not trying to give away all the information because they, incorporate that into the strategy of a day-by-day basis. But you know what? This team, as we've talked about a lot recently, has a lot of problems. And he did mention there are some quick fixes, and there's some ways that the Yankees can go out and actually fix some minor things. But he did also indicate that they have to go through some really tough conversations, some long talks about what this team has to do this upcoming offseason to get back on track. And Ryan, I know you wrote just something about a quote that he had specifically regarding the batting order. And he said, actually, this season, we went away from hitting as many home runs as we did in the past. Like, we actually stopped looking at the home runs and tried to incorporate more contact and, this and that. But the thing is, the Yankees had one of the worst batting averages in the game, one of the worst on-base percentages in the game, didn't hit the most home runs this season, were one of the worst teams with runners in scoring position. Their entire strategy fell apart at the seams because they had no balance, and that's kind of what Judge was saying. Sometimes you have to be like a little kid on the baseball diamond, and, you have to be hitting runners in, just bunting, moving guys over. Like, you have to play small ball sometimes to beat really good pitchers. And here's the thing about the Yankees, right? And I think you might be able to agree with me on this one. When you're facing really great pitchers, especially in the playoffs, it is really hard to hit home runs off of them. Sometimes it's nearly impossible to hit home runs off of guys that just don't give up homers. Those ace-level guys in the ALCS or in the World Series, you can't hit home runs all the time against them. Sometimes you got to play small ball. Sometimes you got to move a guy over by hitting it to third base or second base, whatever it might be. Sometimes you got to, get a single and move a guy in, or, bat a runner in that's on second base and in scoring position. And that's the truth, right? Like, you got to play to your strength. Sometimes you got to just get one run in at a time. You're not always going to hit a 2-run, 3-run homer and give yourself an advantage in that way. You have to have a more balanced approach. So Ryan, when you're looking at Judge's quotes, seeing what he thinks this team needs to correct, what did you take away from it? Because I imagine you have a lot of thoughts on this topic.
So the big thing I took away from what Aaron Judge was talking about was just this idea of a shift in approach, right? Now, Aaron Boone last year and Giancarlo Stanton and Dylan Lawson had their takes following Game 2 of the ALCS about what the Yankees should do. Like, if you guys remember, they struck out a ton. I'm pretty sure they set some sort of ALCS record. I mean, I'm not sure. But it was a really, really bad showing in those first two games offensively in terms of their contact rates. They only had 4 walks in those first two games. So when you're running a high strikeout rate, you're not walking a lot and you're not hitting any home runs, you're doing everything bad, right? Like, they just had a really bad time against the Astros. And I kind of delved on this when I was talking about bat speed, and I've written about it. I've made a short video about it where it's like, the Yankees couldn't handle high velocity towards the end of the season. It seemed like some guys just kind of got slower. Now, part of it is injuries, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say Andrew Benintendi getting hurt didn't matter, or DJ LeMahieu getting hurt didn't matter, or Carpenter getting hurt didn't matter, or that Stanton, getting hurt and then coming back, clearly not the same, didn't matter. But I think that has a lot more to do with roster construction and a lot more to do with the Yankees, not correctly identifying flaws. Stanton said after Game 2, hey, we should shorten up our swings. Like, that's what everybody's got to do. And Boone kind of pushed back on it a little bit. And I thought Boone's perspective on it was kind of refreshing. I thought that was a really good way to kind of put it, where it was like, hey, like, you really don't want to, you don't want to focus too much and just poke out and try to get the ball, because sometimes you'll make bad swing decisions and try to chase out of the zone and expand the zone. And he talked about how important it is to control the strike zone, talking about how they didn't walk enough in those first two games. And then you had Lawson's comments, which is much more like, I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit here, but he had specifically talked about how, like, we're at this point in the season, you're not going to change your process this late into the season. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. And from the way Aaron Boone explained it to the way Dylan Lawson explained it, you can kind of see like a difference in how communication works with Lawson and Boone, and why Boone is still here and very well liked by the players, and why Lawson isn't still here, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with just, I think that the Yankees struggled with communicating their flaws and figuring out their issues and diagnosing them. If you remember, Alex, in the first half, a big thing the Yankees struggled with was seeing pitches. And if they did make that approach of, hey, let's shorten our swings a little bit, let's try to hit fewer home runs, and they were making worse swing decisions and forcing contact because of it, that doesn't mean that making contact is a bad thing. It just means that how they applied that concept was done poorly. Now, I think hitting home runs is the foundation for any good offense. Like, the Braves are probably going to break or come close to breaking the home run record. And while we'll wait and see how that plays in October, it's clear that that's the best offense in baseball. The Dodgers are a home run centric offense. The Twins won their division doing that. The Rangers are a big, like, they hit for power. The Orioles and Rays have some pretty good power as well. Like, the foundation of your offense in a modern era has to be based on home runs. Kind of like how in the NFL, it's every good NFL offense can pass the football, right? Even though running the football's kind of always been a thing, you got to be able to pass nowadays. In the NBA, you've got to be able to shoot three-pointers and hit three-pointers. But there are teams who, when they're not good at anything else, right? Like, they struggle, right? If you can't run the football late in games with the lead, you can't hold your leads because you can't control time of possession, right? You're going to be giving the football back, and that can result in blowing leads. In basketball, if you can't play defense or if you can't control the paint, that means that teams can run smaller lineups and kind of control the perimeter and force you to drive into the paint, and that can create issues for some offenses that aren't equipped to do that. And then in baseball, if you are only good when you hit home runs, that creates some issues, right? Like, if you can't get on base a lot, if you can't steal bases, if you can't do those two things really well, you really have to rely on the home runs. And the Yankees are not the best home running hitting team in baseball this year, so that's created issues. I actually looked, like, if the Yankees had the same amount of barrels that they did last year this year, their offense would go up from a 701 OPS to 722. That's still not great, but it's probably good enough to get them into the postseason. So if they were the best home run hitting offense in baseball, they'd probably make the postseason, but that's not gonna, like, it still wouldn't fix all of their issues, right? They are the slowest team in baseball. That's undeniable. They have the slowest sprint speed in baseball, and that's a part of the team I think they need to get better in. On base percentage, you referenced this. Like, they don't hit for a high average, so their OBP is low. It doesn't matter if you walk 10% of the time. If your average is 210, your on base is going to be around 310. Your on base is not going to be very good. You have to hit for a high enough average for your on base to, get the benefit from, hey, okay, we hit like 240 in 2022, and we were top 5 in OBP. 240 isn't even great for a team. I think that was middle of the pack, but it got them on base enough that it mattered, right? And really, that's all you need the Yankees to do. Just make enough contact, hit for enough of a high average, steal enough bases. And so when you hit a lot of home runs, that's going to result in a lot of offense. And that's historically how the Yankees have done a good job in the baby bomber era of scoring runs. So the way I'd pass it off to you, Alex, is, it's not, the issue I feel like isn't as simple as they need to hit more home runs, they need to hit fewer home runs. It's, they just need to do everything else good enough so that their home runs stand out a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the truth is like, look at Gleyber Torres, for example. He's hitting 270 with a 10% walk rate, and he still only has an on-base rate of about 34, 35%. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot to get on base a lot. And what I think the Yankees lack is, one, athleticism, and two, sometimes they lack discipline, a lot of discipline. They swing at everything. They don't run the bases well. And look, if I'm Gleyber Torres this upcoming offseason, I'm doing whatever it takes to keep refining my craft. He has the lowest strikeout rate in his career at this point, I think 14.8%. He's looking like a long-term piece. But if he can round out those base running errors, I don't know what he has to go through. Maybe the mental decision making. Maybe you go through some virtual training to say, like, okay, this is what I have to do in this situation, and you just kind of refine that. You hammer that home. He becomes a very, very good player for you. Like, he's 26 years old, guys. I mean, for God's sake, can we not get older? Can we not spend money on aging guys? Like, keep your young, quality players. The fact that people want to trade Gleyber Torres right now is beyond me. I don't even understand it. And they'll point to the defensive issues. Guys, we didn't struggle this season because of the defensive issues. We struggle because we can't freaking hit. Not his defensive problems. We can't hit, guys. It's not his defense. It's everybody else's offense. So, if I'm the Yankees right now, I'm asking myself, how do we add more clutch hitters? Gleyber Torres has been one of our best hitters with runners in scoring position. Why are you going to eliminate that? Like, and I know most people are on our side of this and saying that, like, we should keep him. But for the ones that aren't, stop looking at the defense as the only variable in this equation. Look at his offense. Look at where he's improved. Look at how he can be an impact player for us for a long time. And not to say he's like an average defender this year. So, like, maybe slightly below, but he was well above average last year. So you see the potential there if you put it all together. And what I'm trying to say is, the Yankees need to go out and find some players that will get on base at a reasonable clip, hit some home runs, and offer you net positive offense. Now, one of the names that come to mind, Ryan, is Jock Peterson, right? He actually profiles really well for this Yankee team. The problem is he can't play defense. So you're asking him to be the designated hitter. But guess who's filling that role at $22 million in luxury tax threshold this upcoming season and for the next several years until 2028? Giancarlo Stanton. So here's the problem. The Yankees could go get better hitters. The problem is they have money tied up in places that's stopping them from doing it. And now they have to make the tough decision, Ryan, which is what we've been talking about a lot lately. Can they stomach, do they have the gonads to say, Stanton's not what he was. We should let him go, eat the money, and expend and go and actually give this allocation to a player like Peterson, who's actually a net positive as an offensive piece, and he's going to DH most of the time anyway. Can you justify that? Can you actually go and stomach that reality if you're the Yankees front office? Probably not. But this free agency is not that deep, my friends. It's going to be tough. If you miss out on Cody Bellinger and Heimer Candelario at third base, whatever it might be, the numbers drop fast. And the lack of quality there is evident. So it's going to have to come from some trades. There's going to be some Rule 5 eligible players the Yankees cannot protect. We need to leverage those guys before it's too late. So, Ryan, when you're looking at how the Yankees can navigate this DH position, and you're not going to go get Peterson because you have Stanton there, and they're not going to get rid of Stanton. They still have hope and faith in him. How do you actually work around the situations on the Yankees right now that are still holding them back?
Yeah, so I think you make a really good point about, Stanton isn't the way I view it is, and this is so harsh. I try not to be too much of a homer, I guess. But how can you really justify Stanton being the starting DH next year? If the goal is to win as many baseball games as possible, which I assume is the goal, is that going to come with Giancarlo Stanton being the starting DH? I'm not saying you have to DFA him. I'm not exactly sure if there's a perfect solution to this. And look, I'm going to understand that the inevitable option is they're just going to make him the starting DH, at least for an extended period of time. I don't know how long next year. But if Jock Peterson is available for, let's say, $10 million, that does help your offense a lot, right? He has good walk rates. He hits for power. You imagine that gets better at Yankee Stadium. Now, he is a slower guy, can't play defense. That's obviously an issue. But with the young guys you have on your roster, you kind of have that balance out, right? You mentioned, hey, we don't want to acquire older players. I think if you're exchanging, let's say if you're saying, all right, this 32-year-old or 33-year-old player on the Yankees is being replaced by a 36-year-old player on the but that player is significantly better, I think we're clearly fine with that. But you can't just run out a slower team next year, right? This team is the slowest in baseball. In 2021, they were a bottom 3 roster in terms of speed as well. They have struggled dramatically in terms of base running. It is a big, big, big problem with this team, and it's something that they have to fix. You can't be a slow team. Not that you can't be slow and win games, because the Astros, they have ran some slow teams that have won a lot of games. I mean, you can't be the slowest team in baseball and expect to win the World Series. There aren't teams that are the worst or the second worst at something that go on to win the World Series, especially something like base running. I'm not saying something like strikeout rate, where that's a peripheral stat, or even something so minuscule as doubles or triples. You know what I mean? These peripheral stats that they tell a small part of the story, but not the whole story. That's one of the 3 facets of baseball. Yes, it's probably the third most important of that list, which is offense, defense, and base running, but it still is important, right? The same way, in the NFL, your passing game and your defense are probably more important than your running game. But that doesn't mean you can have the worst running game in the NFL and expect to win the Super Bowl. You need to be competent, right? In the NBA, you just because you're not great at let's say 2-point shooting or whatever it may be. If you're really good at 3-point shooting and defense, you'll win a lot of games, right? But you can't be the worst at it, right? The Yankees are the worst. They are the slowest. They make really bad decisions. They don't, they get caught stealing a ton. They make decisions that just don't make sense. How many times, it was almost like a breath of fresh air when you would see a ground ball hit to shortstop and the runner doesn't try to go from second to third. I know that this sounds like me coming off as if I'm a know-it-all, but man, I mean, that's some little league stuff. That gets you benched in high school. That gets you benched in college, right? That. I'm not saying Aaron Boone should bench those guys. I'm not saying Aaron Boone isn't holding guys accountable. At some point, if you're trying to win games, you can't just say, all right, Harrison Bader, you're the only center fielder on the team, we're benching you, right? Gleyber, you're the second best hitter on the team, and when Judge was out, you're the best hitter, we're going to just bench you. I understand why that doesn't happen. But it doesn't look good, right? It doesn't... It's bad baseball, right? And the Yankees make a lot of just what the hell is that mistake? It almost looks lackadaisical. And I typically hate saying that about a team. I hate being oh, this team's, they're not paying attention or they're lazy or whatever it may be. Because these are professional athletes. I imagine they're working super hard. I couldn't do what they're doing, all that stuff. But it does look lackadaisical. If you walk away from a Yankee game and you say, this looks lackadaisical, this looks nonchalant, this does not look like a major league team at times, You wouldn't be too wrong. They play guys out of position, right? Like, they brought back IKF this year, and the entire thought was in the offseason he was going to get traded. Then they tried to make him an outfielder. I'm not saying IKF, did his job poorly, but doesn't it feel a little bit weird that the Yankees are trying to turn infielders into outfielders when they have all the money in the world to just go out and get an outfielder, that they were relying on, hey, hopefully Aaron Hicks bounces back, which he eventually did, but it happened elsewhere. We're hoping that Cabrera keeps it up, even though they, whoever changed his swing, and it ruined a lot of things for him. Hey, we hope Josh Donaldson's good next year. Don't know how that came to be. We're hoping everybody stays healthy. We're hoping things just go right for us. I just don't think hope is a plan. I don't think it's a feasible plan. And, it's just, you need to get a little more well-rounded, right? You need to just be a little bit better on the margins, a lot better base running wise, a little bit better defensively in the outfield. I think that'll happen if you have Pereira in left field. I don't know if he'll hit, but he's definitely a better defender than anybody we've had in left field since, Brett Gardner? Like, I don't know a guy who's made every play look easy out there. Jake Bauers was making it look a little rough. I was getting a little concerned when a ball would get hit to left field. But overall, I guess my conclusion, the TLDR, the like, hey, what is your grand point here? It's the Yankees are the worst team in baseball at base running. They are the worst team in baseball speed-wise. They are one of the less athletic rosters in baseball. They're one of the older rosters in baseball. They carry guys in their team that cannot run the bases and are actual liabilities defensively. Like, cannot be out there, cannot run the bases, not at the major league level. The type of stuff that would get you non-tendered or released. And they have too many of those guys. Stanton is becoming one of those guys, or already is one of those guys. And if they don't find ways to either move on from these guys or improve, they're going to be in the same spot next year. It has to get better.
And by all intents and purposes, I do believe it will get better. I think that they're ready to acknowledge the mistakes they've made in the past, and they're ready to put their best foot forward, and Judge is not going to let them avoid this. You know what I mean? I don't think Judge is going to let them ignore all the issues that are plaguing this team. And that's what a captain does, for what it's worth. Ryan, it's kind of funny. I feel like Judge is like our representative right now, because the front office has been doing whatever they've wanted for so long and making bad choices and bad mistakes and trades that didn't make sense, and we've been left here wondering why the hell. But I get the sense that Judge is also wondering why the hell did we make that move? What are we doing? What happened there? What's going wrong in that category and department? And I think he's ready to ask those questions, like, what are you guys up to? Why are these choices being made, and what can we do to fix them? So I feel like he's our representative right now. I feel like he's going into these meetings this offseason with a quest and trying to get this team back on track, and I think he's going to be helping along the way and be a voice of reason. He's going to be a voice of perspective. You know what I mean? He's the only one in that room that's going to have a perspective of, hey, like, I'm the player, guys. I'm the one that actually has to deal with the analytics department and the coaches and, the trades that you're making and the balance of the lineup. I'm the one that sees it day in and day out. I think that perspective will actually go a long way toward helping this team put a better product on the field. But again, like, it really comes down to Cashman, the front office guys, if they're willing to accept the changes and accept the data that they're about to get from this third-party analysis and put it to action and put it into play. So, there's a lot that needs to happen. We got you guys covered, as always, on Fireside Yankees. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.